engaging celebrity interviews, exciting updates from Christian filmmakers, movie reviews so you can choose your movies wisely, and so much more here on Faith on Film with Isaac Hernandez and Holly McClure.
Hello and welcome to Faith on Film. We're so excited that you are here today because, Holly, we looked at a movie, Irene's Vow, recently, and I got to tell you, it was an amazing movie, and I know you had a chance to interview a couple of people from the movie. It
was not only an amazing movie, but I feel like a very relevant movie for today, Isaac. Irene's Vow is about a Catholic girl who was from Poland and swept up into World War II and literally got swept up with the Nazis and having to hide fellow Jewish friends of hers. It is a powerful story. I got a chance to interview Sophia Nellis, who is the actress who plays the mother, Irena, and Irena's daughter, which is Jeannie Smith. Had a chance to interview her, talk about her mother and the story behind it. So I am so excited for you guys to hear this interview, but let's take a look at the trailer.
Do you know how one survives this sort of change? Destiny.
From now on, you'll be working to contribute to the German war effort.
Your name?
Irene Gut.
You will be in charge of supervising the Jews. Your survival will depend on that.
I have until July 22nd to make sure that this entire sector is Jew-free.
We have no place to go. I saw a place where I can hide you, where no one would ever think of looking for you. In the house of one of the highest-ranking German officers in Tarnopol. I made a vow then if I ever could save a life, I would.
But if anything goes wrong, we all pay the price.
Search everywhere! Everywhere, do you hear me?
I received a letter that I've been hiding Jews in my house!
Doesn't matter who we are. What we do is who we are. I think we should have faith. Because if we don't, something else will die inside of us too.
Jeannie, both of you, I watched this movie and kind of knew what the story was, but still was in awe. I had to go back and rewind it several times to watch several scenes because they were so impactful. And it was sad that these days, I don't think your mother would have even thought about that, Jeannie. That I don't think she would have even imagined that these days we would be dealing with what we're dealing with again, all over again. This project took 7 years, I think, in the making, right? So, I mean, when it first was conceived and started going, we didn't have that kind of, to the level it is today, sentiment. How has it been to see this movie now for you, from the beginning to now, see it come?
Incredible. I've known Dan Gordon for a long time. He was a friend of my mom's. He's the playwright. This movie was a Broadway play back in 2008 and 2009. So it's when I got accustomed to it. But to see it transform from, a play to this movie that is bigger than life, incredible. And totally, it was such a wonderful gift to have Sophie. She just embodies everything about what I would have imagined my mom would have been like at that age. So yeah, it's incredible. I don't know if I'll ever stop wanting to see it. I just can't miss it anytime it's been shown. So, and I've seen it quite a bit.
I know. And the truth is, your mother went through several horrendous, heinous things before the movie even picks up in her life.
Oh, sure.
She had already,
absolutely.
She'd already gone through so much. And in doing this, Sophie, for you playing this character, Did you, like I said, you had done The Book Thief before years ago. You were younger, but it dealt
Yeah.
with the whole thing of the Jews and hiding and protecting. Did you get shades of when you did that role and coming to this role? And it's a very different story, but I mean, you kind of already done something like this to that level.
Yeah, it definitely felt like the continuity of Liesel, or what she would have turned out 10 years later, still trying to save people and bring the best out of life. And it was very helpful because I had done obviously all that research for The Book Thief, and by watching all the classics and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas and Schindler's List and The Pianist. And so I had already kind of dove into that world. And so it just felt like I was diving right back into it. And there's a lot of similarities in both characters and in their strength and resilience, and in how they've devoted their entire lives to helping people. Obviously, this Irene has lived for real, so it was definitely a lot more pressure than to play a fiction character, but it was a challenge I felt the need to take on.
Jeannie, were you on set to kind of advise or to see, or like you said, the play has been done, but I mean, there was more in the movie than probably was on the play. Were you there to kind of see what was going on? And when you were watching this, was there a scene that impacted you more than others?
I was not part of the making of the film, actually. I had a busy schedule, and so I do a lot of traveling and just telling her story to groups. But I think that they did an amazing job. And, like I said, Dan Gordon truly cared for my mom. She loved him. They shared the same birthday. And so, he handled it with care. And he picked a great cast to do the movie. So I'm a big fan, and I'm a big supporter because of that.
Gray Scott, I mean, wow.
Yeah, I know.
What a talent that is, and to have him and to see him in that character. I found it interesting that the true story, that the real character, that real general, he actually went to live with the girl who had the baby. And I mean, I was shocked. I guess I just didn't think there was any connection after the war, but
right. Yeah. It's interesting. A lot of the groups I talked to are Jewish, and they're pretty horrified actually by that. That it was Ida and Laser Holler, the Jewish family, had this baby. And yes, when they heard about the major being homeless after the war, went to get him. But in all fairness, they didn't know the requirements that the major made on my mom. They didn't. And they just thought, he actually allowed the women to come up in the evenings when there was no entertaining, and he got to know them. And so, they just thought it was the goodness of his heart. And, in the end, he did some amazing things that aren't in the book, that helping other people. And I think it was spending time with these Jewish women that made him realize they were human beings. And it changed his heart.
Sophie, what was one of the harder scenes for you to do? I mean, because there were several difficult scenes in the movie, I thought. What was one of the more impactful or harder ones for you?
I mean, I think all the ones in the public square where there's all these atrocities that happen to the Jewish people. For me, it's something that feels so remote and far away. War, because I'm so fortunate to come from a peaceful country. And so just coming onto set at like 6 a.m. and seeing all the machinery and the guns and the uniforms, that in itself was already very hard to be around. And then shooting it just felt too real. And it was easy in a way to get into character, but just very hard to be surrounded by every day. And I definitely felt like I brought a lot of that home with me, because at the same time we were also shooting in Lublin, right next to the border to Ukraine, while the war was going on in Ukraine. So wow. I would leave work to then go to my hotel and see refugees and soldiers, and very difficult times. But also it was a reminder of why we had to do that movie and spread the message.
Absolutely. And I hope that this message does get spread. I hope that there are people that go see that. I know it's Fathom event, and so it'll be only a couple of days. Are there any plans for the movie afterwards, Jeannie? Are there any plans to get it distributed in some way that it's beyond Fathom so more people can see it?
I believe it's going to be going on streaming afterwards, which will definitely open it up to a larger audience.
Good. I was so happy to find out that your mother connected with her sisters, whom she thought were gone. After, I mean, tell a little bit about that. How, because there were so many miracles. I think miracles in this story. That to me is a miracle that they found
so many miracles. Yeah, if you give yourself over to God, He showers you with things. You can't outgive Him for sure. Yes, through an amazing thing. My mom met some people who were going to Poland. They said they would look for her sisters after 40 years of never knowing anything about them. And on the last day there, they just happened to go to a grocery store, asked the grocery merchant if he knew the women. He said he didn't, but one of her sisters was in the store and heard it and, came running up and got my mom's address. And my mom gets this, she called it a letter from heaven, from all four of her sisters saying, "We found you. We can't wait to see you." Incredible. I could go on. There's one after another story like that. So pretty amazing.
Wow. And then you, of course, have you stayed connected then with the family?
The sisters were all able to come out to Southern California, even some of my nephews. They've all since passed away, but the sisters, my aunts are all gone. But just got to know them very well. And it was an amazing blessing.
Your mother was honored. I mean, there's a list of Israel Holocaust Commission, the Medal of Honor from Israel's highest tribute, the Vatican, because she was of Catholic faith, and the Vatican even. So, I mean, this is, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I love that they were highlighting the fact that, she's been recognized for what she did, just like Schindler was and some others.
Right. Yeah. She was. That's it didn't mean so much to her. It means a lot to me, though. To be able to acknowledge a young girl that didn't have any power or anything, still being able to do a lot, to change humanity, to save lives. It's encouragement to all of us that you don't have to be anybody important or special to make a huge difference.
Sophie, in playing this role, I don't know how I'm trying, because I was trying to put a timeline on what it was for Irina, how old she was, but you looked very young and very beautiful in the film. It was hard to make you look old or ugly. I'm telling you. I'm like, there's no way you can make her look. Your eyes were just so expressive, and that camera just caught so many emotional moments. I won't give the story away, but there was so many things you had to succumb to and surrender to, and I felt so sorry for that character going through that. I know you played other roles as far as Yellow Jackets and other roles that have probably been harder, but what's special about this role for you, Sophie, that you're taking with you?
I think she's made me grow on a personal level a lot, and I think values that I had before doing this movie have just been implemented even more in my life, and she sticks with me daily in terms of just trying to be the best version of myself, and she's a constant reminder of a little goes a long way, and sometimes I think we feel that as one we can't make a big difference, but she's proof that a tiny action, and obviously hers are very heroic, and but tiny things that we can all do as a society, like help someone or compliment someone, and that can change their lives, and then they can change other people's lives. So it has a ripple effect that is really grand, and I try to remind myself that every day.
In these day and times, especially being in the Hollywood environment, is it hard to take a stand for what this woman stood for in this movie and how she stood up for the Jews? I mean, I'm not trying to put you in a horrible place where you have to say, but I mean, there's a lot of conflict right now, and political and everything else, to take a stand for this. And it takes brave people to speak up, just like Irina was, I think. Don't you?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem in society is that our differences create conflict. And I think that Irina is a good example of, it doesn't mean that you have to agree with everyone's people's difference in opinions, in values, in religion beliefs or political beliefs. And it doesn't mean you have to agree, but at least we should be more empathetic and open to a discussion and to try to be more understanding. instead of being so judgmental. And I think if we tried to learn from each other's differences and to grow together, we would live in such a more harmonized society.
I agree. Thank you for that. Jeannie, you, okay, I heard just right before you came on that are you a foster parent? Or are you taking kids in? What is it? Because you're kind of continuing the legacy of your mother.
My mom brought old people home to live with us, so we've gone the opposite way. Just teenagers. I take them 14 and up, and I don't have any currently for the last 2 years because I've been too busy. But it just started with our church, actually, bringing in youth that needed a stable place and just a lot of encouragement. And so, yeah, we've and then moved on to being a foster parent. So we've had about 60 in our house, and I could write a book about all the stories, but it's amazing. And sometimes our holidays are full of lots of them that are married with kids and all that. So it's a good life, and there's lots of challenges. So I've.
It sounds like the sacrificial love that your mom had for those, for people who were strangers and not even really family. It's continuing on, and this is an amazing movie. I loved it. I can't talk enough about it. We're going to do a whole show on it, and talk with the interview that I've had with you guys, and then show the trailer and then discuss it after, because it's an important and relevant film for today. And I just want to thank both of you for your time and for an amazing job that this movie, the message of this movie presents. Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you're doing.
Wow, Holly, I really enjoyed hearing specifically from her daughter, because, the actress is an actress that plays the role, but the daughter, my goodness, she's connected to the actual person of who this movie's all about.
Yes. And I didn't even know that it was a Broadway play, Isaac. She said that her mom had been working on that and knew about the play years before. But the movie even is so much more. The movie is so impactful. There's scenes in that movie that are, I'm going to be honest with you, they sent us the screeners, so I got to rewind and wind. There are several scenes that I had to rewind it and go, what? That happened? Well, I don't want to give anything away, but there's an intense scene with a woman and a baby in the street. There's some scenes of the hiding. You're just nervous. You're on pins and needles. Like, are they going to find them? Are they going to find them? And then what what Irena, her mom, went through. Jeannie said there's even more that wasn't told in the movie that is a backstory, because she was raped and abused and treated horrendously before she even got connected. And she had become a nurse at 19 and then went through this whole journey. So I'm telling you, in real life, she went through even more than what you're going to see in this movie. But it was very interesting to see the insight. And in the movie, she thinks all her sisters are dead and her family's dead. But in real life, I loved finding out that she got reconnected with her sisters. And I love how she told the story, how it really was a miracle. How in the 80s, 40 years later, she thinks her family's gone. 40 years, Isaac, and then she finds out her sisters are alive. Wow, that was important. And then Sophie, Sophie. Okay, I saw her in The Book Thief, and it's a movie that came out in 2013, and she was a young girl, but she plays a girl that takes care of that there's someone hiding a Jew, and she brings books to him, and he teaches him to read and educates him, and it's this whole story of how they hid him in World War II. And so I asked her how it felt to play that role. But a little behind the scenes is, I'm a member of the Broadcast Film Critics Association, so we had a chance to nominate her for a Newcomers Award, a young person in film. At that time she was, in 2014. So to see her go from that in her career from there, and then now playing all these other, and for those who watch Yellow Jackets, you will recognize her. She's in that. She's been in lots of other films, but she is a talent in and of herself to be reckoned with. And I loved her comment that when I asked her about how hard politically it is right now to take a stand for the Jewish nation and for Israel, especially in Hollywood, I thought her answer was a really good answer. It can't be easy. And here they started working on this film 7 years ago, and little did they think then what the political climate would be now.
Right.
And so, it's a Fathom event. It's only 2 days, but they are going to stream it after. But I'm just telling you guys, support this movie. Go see the Fathom event. And if you're watching this now and it's already come and gone, look it up on a streaming service. This is one of those movies that it really inspires you. Didn't it inspire you, Isaac? You like want to help people. What can I do to help people? What can I do to make a change?
Yeah, and absolutely. But you said something that you didn't want to spoil the movie. But because knowing our audience, I feel like we should at least give a little warning without really telling what happened here. But I know I'm saying it because when it did happen, it did kind of startle me a bit. And the movie, you would expect it actually to be a violent movie because it's a movie during Hitler time, getting the Jewish people, gassing them, all kinds of things that they did. But it really wasn't. It was not a violent movie, except for that scene that you mentioned with the SSI, whatever, the general or something, and the mom and the baby. And I don't want to say what happened, but I got to tell you, when it happened, it did startle me. And I just think, I'm not telling people that they shouldn't watch this movie because I really think they should.
But it's not for children.
When that happens,
it's not for little children to watch. Okay,
it's not.
If your kids, it's an older, mature kid. It's not graphic. We're going to tell you, it's not graphic.
It's not graphic.
But it just shows how heartless they were to babies. Okay. Just like we saw on October 7th, how heartless they were from going into those villages. That's how heartless they were. It's the same evil mentality, same evil mind that you could do that to a mother, you could do it to a child. Yep. It's that kind of thing. And then there's another scene where it's a hanging scene, and again,
that's the other one.
That's what Sophie referred to when I asked her about what was there a hard scene, and she's like, yeah, the scenes in the square, that was hard to go watch, even though they weren't graphic. But it still sets the tone. And then I will tell you that, and it's real life, she has to sleep with one of the German majors, and she does it to save people. Yeah. So, and if you heard me mention in the interview, she does it to save the people that she's hiding, because he was going to tell if she didn't. So the sacrifice that this woman made, physically, sexually, to save these people and the baby, because one of the people that are the captives, the Jews, she gets pregnant while they're hiding, and Irina says, no, I want you to have this baby. You cannot kill this baby. This is life. You cannot, because they were like, we'll do what we can do because we can't. And she goes, no, this is life. Hitler will win if you kill this baby. We have to. And I love that scene. And she said, we have to preserve life. So again, a couple of hard things to watch, but it's not graphic, and it's such a good story.
It is. And, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Cabrini, where it's a woman that's just doing everything she can to help somebody.
Yeah.
And it kind of had that feel.
Yes. And all the odds are against her. But, but God. And it's a true testimony of God. And
you really see the providence of God there, because just the way things happen. And again, we're not going to tell a story. You have to watch it. But the way things happening, to me, I saw God working in the situation to save, even if it was just a handful of Jews.
Yeah. And the Corrie ten Boom kind of God hid things so that they could, that's what it reminded me of too, so that they could survive. And they did. And like I said, she was from Catholic faith and protecting the Jews. And she was honored real quickly. I know we have to go. The Israel Holocaust Commission, the Medal of Honor from Israel's highest tribute, the Vatican gave her a special commendation. She's in the permanent exhibit at the Holocaust Museum. So the woman has been honored, many, many honors for what she did. Anyway, great. Irena's Vow. Go see it. It's just a powerful story. And if it's not on where you're seeing it at theater, then screen it.
Now, was there a book written prior to it? Did they grab the story from a book?
There has been a book written. I don't know the title, but there has been. So, and like I said, it was a Broadway play. So there was a play that was in New York on it. So, I didn't even know that. I hadn't seen it. So anyway, powerful.
I would have loved to have seen that, because I love theater, and I certainly would have enjoyed seeing that one.
Oh, that would have been intense, wouldn't it? Knowing now what we know. Oh, that would have been, and all the parties and the way that she hid during the parties and stuff. Oh, yeah, that would.
I know. I'm telling you. At first, I was like, "Wait a minute! She's going to hide people in the very house of this commander, whatever he was, general, sergeant. I don't know what he was, but she's going to hide people in his home." But after seeing what happened, it made sense. Who would think of going there to look for Jews, right?
Well, I think we're out of time. I hate to say that, but I think we are.
Was that?
But I think we're out of time, aren't we?
No, we still got a minute left. So if you want to share something else about it, yeah, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were out of time. That's why I didn't. Okay, sorry. We're not out of time. We get to say more.
Yeah, we get to say more.
No, I think this is one of those movies that it's going to come out on Fathom, and then it's going to be streamed. Okay. But I feel like God brings things at a certain time, and I feel for such a time as this, because it could have been made 7 years ago when they first started, and 7 years ago it would have been a good movie, but it wouldn't have made the impact. God does everything in His timing, and I definitely feel this has His thumbprint of timing on it.
It's sort of like Jesus' Revolution, that it came out just at a time when all of a sudden, it was happening. Where was that it was happening? I forget the town, but God has a really good sense of humor.
Well, in Orange County, California, it was right there in Newport Beach and right there in Costa Mesa, and that whole thing happened. And then when they were actually making the movie, then people were really getting baptized. Like they were baptizing people right and left while they were filming the movie. I mean, there was a whole revolution going when they were making the movie. So
lots of great movies coming out right now, and I'm very excited about that. And guess what? Now we are out of time.
Oh, sorry.
That's good. Just a reminder.
This is a movie for such a time as this. So go see it.
Absolutely. Just a reminder to go check our new website, faithonfilmtv.com. That's faithonfilmtv.com. Holly, we'll see you next week.
All right.
Write to us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. That's faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Faith on Film TV. Also, go to our YouTube channel, Faith on Film TV, and hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications on our latest Faith on Film shows.
Obey His word and believe. There is no time for delay.
I believe the Bible is clear. Jesus will return in but 4 short years.
I come before you today to tell you that I have been shown in vision. Father Miller's message was light. The Advent people were traveling on a path toward a bright and holy city.
Yes, it's not the first time the end of the world has been prophesied by a fool, nor will it be the last. If you do not renounce these radical ideas, you will not be welcome here in this house of worship.
This was only the beginning of our journey.
Her visions do not come from God. But my friends, she speaks with great tenderness of the word of the Lord.
The Holy Spirit encouraged our Advent hope. There were people who didn't listen and they fell off the path.
You really believe this doctrine which you preach? I was lost, and now I'm found.
We must follow the word of God over the rule of men. We feel love, the love of Jesus. It lifts us up, it carries us forward. And it will guide us home.